I am. He doesn't. And
Yes.
and the fact is, I know who I am. You can't take this away from me. So now he's mad because he knows he's in what? The dungeon. He knows he's in the muck and the mire. I'm saying, here, I'll help you come out. And he's like, now I got to come out of this. Nah, I like it down here. I said, okay, that's it for you black people. You're done. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the International Decade for People of African Descent. That's now, do you see? Like I said, I know what I'm doing. Honestly, people, I know what I'm doing. He's like, he wanted to be gone to a whole spiel. And I said, no, that's a setup. Where do you want to go? You're the radio host. You should already have questions lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask this. So as soon as he did that, that's when I said I got him. I knew I got him at the point. Okay, I explained it. Here's my CV. That's it. Now, what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when he said, okay, I have some questions, I said, got you. Right there, I knew I had him. And so now that was his real, he wanted to go and try to disprove the SF 181 and the fact you have to be white. That's what he was wanting to get to. But I had to go catch the replay, or I got to listen to the audio recording that I have and see what it is. Something I said something that set him off. First was when I cut him off. He didn't like that. I didn't really care,
Of course.
because when the last interview did, when we did the last interview 2 weeks ago, he introduced those young people, and said, are they white? And then that's when he did like this, like exasperated. And that's when I knew right there, I said, okay, so you just like the rest of these black people, you just talk conscious, but they don't want freedom. Black people don't want freedom. They want slave master to take the pressure off of them on the plantation. And meanwhile, here's the key: you can open the door and walk out anytime you want. No, I can't do that. Good, stay a slave. Whip that monkey ass.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tawat.
Nana.
Okay, Sister Clarion, there you are. Go right ahead. Greetings from Jamaica.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Nanya, for accepting me. I saw your interview with Rattigan weeks ago. I did not know you were on again today.
Oh, white.
But I had seen you a couple of years back and, watched everything on your channel. And then, I saw it again a couple of weeks ago. So I thought it was good that as a Jamaican, he was bringing that information to our people here, because the only other brother here that lives in Jamaica gets up every day and says, you are not black, you're a maroon, you're not black. They call him crazy here, just talk to anybody on the street and say his name because he's very popular here. But everybody says, oh, he's crazy. Just, that's how they call him, crazy. So it's a very hard idea for our people, to just begin to accept. My daughter, she got arrested Wednesday of this week, the 27th. She got into it with another Jamaican that a bunch of them are staying in a house in Tennessee. And so she came up last June to the United States, and then she wanted to make some money. So she went and started working front desk in Tennessee. So she got into it with him. She's trying to leave the house, trying to separate from him. He starts beating her up. She starts to react. He makes a video without her knowing, and then calls the police and says, hey, look what she's doing, because, he's manipulating her. She's working, he's not working. I'm in the beginning, she's helping him out financially. And that kind of psychological manipulation.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right. I'm going to stop you right there. How I operate is paper. I need to see contracts. Now, unfortunately, I just looked at the email that you sent me. Your daughter's black. So that's
she put white. And they
They
changed.
crossed it out.
Yes.
They crossed it out. Okay.
She told me.
Yes, she did that, and they crossed it out. Now, I don't know how much of the interview today with Rattigan that you saw.
I didn't see anything.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is this. It's more than just checking off a piece of paper. There are spiritual principles involved with being white. Those guys today, you'll see the replay, they short out. Black is a lie, point blank. And what's the problem with that? Because the person is, they are emanating, they are recycling the energy sound cycle. We call it sound cycle. Frequency is what they will call it. The frequency of black is in that person's cells. So however you raised her and you called her black or whatever, that's there. Now that is a contract within the cell. When you do a SF1E1, you check it off white, that doesn't erase that. That has to come from here. It has to come from the mental. This is what in the interview where they played with Dr. Ben Yakinen, he was talking about the slavery that black people in is a mental slavery, which is worse than physical slavery. So the situation that happened today with Mr. Rattigan confirmed that he himself is in mental slavery. So you can't just check off a box, say you are white. In those type of situations, she is property because she's now captive. She didn't have any pre-existing statement. She has nothing on her social networking. She has nothing out there. She has no statement, no declarations, no claims, no nothing. Just a piece of paper. They can make a visual determination that she is what? Black, because she has no pre-existing contract or no contract to counterclaim her calling herself black for all these years. How old is your daughter?
27.
Okay, 27 years. So imagine saying the word, whether they say orally or she says it to herself or she just subconsciously identifies herself as a black woman, her body is vibrating on that sound cycle and energy cycle. And so now when you run into that problem, the legal aspect of it, now she has an issue because the people there are going to put her in the same category because she has no pre-existing contract that counterclaims, rebuts, or disputes that she is not black. And she has nobody there in Tennessee that is white that can put in a statement on her behalf. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes,
So,
I agree with you because just to attract that kind of situation to yourself.
Yes.
I agree.
And
Spiritually, I agree with you. I'm like, how you just attract like something so stupid to yourself to get arrested.
exactly. And this is why I tell white autochthons as stay away from black people. Stay away from them. And when I say stay away, I mean friends, family, unless you have a business relationship where they're a business partner or you need them to babysit or they got to come cut your lawn or you got to do something for them. Okay, that's a contract. Cool. Outside of that, no. And I'm saying no even to a family gathering because that's a recipe for disaster. So this is something, see, you're getting a gem that Rattigan, who is educated, is not getting. People only look at paper. Oh, okay, that's SF1E1. I did that. I didn't do that for me. No. You have to live white. You have to live being indigenous. It has to be in every fiber of your being, your cells, your atoms, down to your biaps, your quarks, subatomic subconscious. You have to claim I'm white. And the next thing is, even people who are on the webinar, I tell them, we have to have a white network. So if you run into a problem, you'll have someone who looks like you that is white that can interject, because once they see that, they're like, oh boy, they figured out the plan. They figured it out. They realized the game. And now they also have what? A support network. That's what you have to have. A lot of people who run and do an SF-1E1, they ain't got no support network. And then what will happen? They'll say, nope, you're black, and do everything, and they'll try and fight it and then lose because they have no support network to validate them. That's the problem. This is what they don't see. So you got that. Plus, I'm going to give you another gem. It was Indiana. Knew a guy in Indiana, black guy. He was on the webinar, so he was changing his status. And a buddy of his came up. These guys, I knew, they were watching my videos, and they told this guy, hey, you need to change your race and ethnicity. He's in the driver's side. He's with an Amorite. Him and the Amorite friends from since kids. The black guy, and he was watching my webinar and my videos, and he told him, you got to change your status. So they said, man, you got to get on Chief's webinar. And so the white guy, now they ain't talking to him, the Amorite. The Amorite turns around and says, yeah, I know you're not in your proper status. The black guy who's friends with him for all these years looks at him, what you say? He said, yeah, I know you're not in your right status. And he looked at him like, yeah, because the Amorite was locked up. But he's like, yeah, I locked up, but I've been around people I know. You black people are not in your proper standing. So if an Amorite from Indiana knows this, what do you think college professors know about the black students that go to college and university? Then you have this fool calling himself a radio show host. I'm talking about Mr. Rattigan, that's sitting there saying, the people need to hear this. Here's the reality. And this is what I said before. I used the church as an example. If Jesus was to show up in the church as black, 90% of them Negroes would walk out the church one time. One time. That shows you how effective that spell is. So when it comes to being white, the preacher, the imam, the rabbi, the Hebrew Israelites, they're not going to talk that because they know their congregation will not accept it. There's an old saying called, those who know do not tell, and those who tell do not know. And I would always say, well, why is that? Because those who do not know will not comprehend, understand, or accept. That's why. So can't do nothing for your daughter until she gets out, or if they're going to send her whatever, can't do anything for her because she's black. Her contract is black. I don't go running into a fire like that. She'll have to wait. Now, in the meantime, all she can do is do her best to figure out what kind of rights she may have. But other than that, I don't touch that. Now, you, on the other hand, if you came on my webinar and went through the process and wanted to help your daughter out, you could do that, because when people come on my webinar, I give them certificates of achievement. Mr. Rattigan doesn't know that. And the certificate here, I'm going to go right here. I'll put it right here on the screen here so you could see. I have a whole page. They capped me on Facebook at 120 certificates. Here's Indigenous Standing Process certificates. These are some of the certificates that I have given. Let's see, here's your post. Process influence post, pictures. Go home. So I give certificates of achievement for people who come on. So that means they're being taught properly how to be white and live white. Let's see where, oh, there we go, right here. And I'll take you straight to the page. So filling out the SF-181 form is not good enough. People have to be tested on their comprehension and their ability to articulate. So see here, photos. Look at this. So this is, who's this? Sabrina. Yeah, she's one of the first ones that got a certificate. See that date there? 2017. We're in 2024. 7 years. And people are able to use the certificate to change their indigenous, to change the slave name into their indigenous appellation. So see, look at all this. All these are certificates. So who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to some radio show host who was an attorney and is more than likely still an FBI agent? Or are you going to listen to someone who's at the United Nations? This is why I told him, and I think that's probably what threw him off, was when I told people, type in black has, and we're going to do two of them, black has no standing at law. And then we're going to type in what Barack Obama said, the word black has no standing at law. And let's see what kind of numbers we get. Wow, 173 million for the word black has no standing at law. At-sik-hata Nation is number 1 and 2 over Barack Obama. That's a legal fact. That can't be refuted nowhere on the planet. No court, not INSA court, not International Criminal Court, not International Court of Justice, not U.S. Supreme Court, not Canadian Supreme Court of Canada. That's irrefutable. This is a fact. Now, when we go to black has no standing at law, 815 million, which was the same numbers that I had on when I was doing Rattigan's earlier today. And again, At-sik-hata, number 1, number 2. What President Obama said on the Tom Joyner Air Tower. So there is no leeway anymore. It is clear. Saying the word black is similar to speaking a spell and damage oneself in the process and then get upset. Why is this happening to me? But they still keep thinking, saying, speaking they're black. Then they send the energy out and then attracts it back to themselves. Why is this happening to me? Then they keep doing it. So now it becomes a circle. Circle of death, cycle of death. Black is also synonymous with death. When people go to funerals, they wear what color? A dark color, which they call black, which is wrong. But the ancient Tamarayans at funerals, we wore white. So this is, I'm giving you this gem. Everyone else here, for those that aren't on my webinar, you need to get on the webinar. And we're screening people to make sure you haven't taken the jab either first, and then we proceed and go forward based on what contracts you may or may not have, and then go through to change the race and ethnicity. This is a global standard. Let me show you something which I would have shown Rattigan, but he's aware of it. Let me go here. Let's see. So we'll go to, now this is CDC. This is Center for Disease Control, which is international. We're going to go to census and talking about the topic of race. So that's why I know Rattigan didn't do his due diligence. He didn't do no homework. The people in Jamaica, they have contracts with the United States. So some of those contracts are valid. So race and ethnicity is one of them. So here we go. Definition of race. White. A person having origins in any of the original peoples, get my pointer, of Europe, the middle of North Africa or the Middle East. And the number, they have it codified as the number 1. Now here, what does it say? The physician and staff are not expected to ask the patient for this information. If the patient's race is not known and is not obvious, the physician or assistant should mark the box which in his or her judgment is most appropriate. Now we're going to come back to that. We're going to go to census. What is it? The U.S. Census about the topic of race. Black or African American. A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Can you name me a black racial group of Africa? You there? Oh, hold on. Yeah, take your mic. Can you name me a black racial group of Africa?
Nigeria, I don't know if you're referring to
Nigerians don't call themselves black in their language.
Right. There's no such black racial group of Africa.
So black or African Americans don't even exist.
Right.
So to check that off is a trap. That relegates you to a table. You have the same status as a table, a chair, a floor lamp, a lighting fixture. Now, the 1997 OMB standards permit the reporting of more than one race. An individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. Then they continue, an individual's response to the race question is based upon self-identification. What is race? The Census Bureau collects racial data in accordance with guidelines provided by the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, OMB, and these data are based on self-identification. So, all the people on Rattigan who will see this replay, the people in the chat, Rattigan himself, and ISAT and the rest of them, they're fools. This is the U.S. government right here. This ain't subject to debate. This is U.S. Census, U.S. Department of Commerce. Contact us at the census. This is not subject to debate. This is the game that they are playing on black people the world over. The word black means pale. You want to keep calling yourself pale, which is a genetic mutation when you look at a medical dictionary. Black is considered pale. Paleness is a mutation. That means your genes are degenerate or they are defecting. That's what it means. So when you see these guys getting upset and the people in the chat getting mad at me, they fools. Every one of them is a fool. They got them. The devil already has them. That's why they fighting, because they can't believe they got tricked by something so simple. So now when we go back to the Center for Disease Control, a person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. There are none. American Indian or Eskimo or Aleut is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America and who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community recognition. If we go to the National Center for Education Statistics, on their definitions for race and ethnicity categories. Now we get to same definitions. American Indian or Alaska Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, who maintains cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community attachment. So you can't just fill out a form, say you're white, and you have no connection. That's not going to work. They're telling you the terms and conditions of the contract. If this is how you self-identify, this is what we need to see on your social networking. This is what we need to see if you put pictures on Facebook. This is what we need to see on X.com. Something cultural, something white, something indigenous. If we don't see that, then we'll say, oh, that's some black woman. Then you get sucked back into the same thing and you have no pre-existing contract to dispute that. Now, up here in white, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Europe is named after Ethiopian princess. Now, this is the part people don't pay attention to because they don't receive. They don't go through and do their proper studying. The categories, this is 1997. It's used to describe groups to which individuals belong, identify with, or belong in the eyes of the community. The categories do not denote scientific definitions of anthropological origins. They're not talking about skin color. They're talking about what caste system do you belong to, U.S. Department of Education. So here we have them. We have the Center for Disease Control, which is global. They're all using the same thing. That includes Jamaica. Jamaica, I think, might be part of ACRO, a member of ACRO. And ACRO, just for your benefit, AACRAO, Jamaica membership. Because I'm not sure if Jamaica is a member still. Okay, let me see here. Organizational membership. As they changed their website up because of the work I was doing, they hid some of their graphs and charts. And ACRO is international. Okay, so let me see here. So let's see, click on who we are. Vision, mission, and goals. Okay. Okay, ACRO. ACRO advances and supports a richly diverse globally, interconnected community of higher education professionals, as well as the institutions, organizations, and learners they serve through its resources, leadership, and advocacy. So their goal by 2026, ACRO will advance the knowledge and understanding of the complex and critical professions engaged in enrollment and academic services, a key component of institutional and learner success. So when people go to college, if they're in Jamaica and they go to college in Europe or in the United States, they're going to ask them for their race. So if they check off Black or African American, boom, they're already stuck. Exception of Africa, they'll call them white. They have to go through U.S. Customs. So Black is the linchpin. Black is a curse. Calling oneself Black is a curse. If you can call yourself Jamaica, you can say you're maroon. You can say you are what's the other one? Maroon, Carib, or Arawak. Any of those, because those are indigenous. No problem. But you cannot be calling yourself Black or African American or African of the diaspora, because the people from Africa don't call themselves that. So had Mr. Rattigan truly showed concern for his people, he would have put these links up on when I was doing the interview with him. And the fact he won't do it is because he admitted he is an attorney, and his first obligation is to the court, not to Jamaicans, not to people from the Caribbean, not to Black people of the diaspora. His job is to make sure you all stay tied up on the plantation. And I thank him. I'm so grateful he admitted to that. I believe one should, let's see if it comes with should not hire an attorney. So I suggest you, if you want, you come on my webinar. Once you know how to do it, you could do it for your daughter because of where she's at, and you take on that responsibility. But I don't touch that, because people only do that when they're in those situations. And that's one of the things I don't like, is when they're in concrete box, they'll say or do anything. Once they get out, they go back to being who they were.
Yes, I already changed my status to maroon hair. So I was encouraging her, and I'll do it for my other daughter as well. And so
Who'd you change your status with?
his name is L.A. Lewis. I don't know if you know of him.
That's Yankee Pong. That guy's a fraud. I know who he is. I know who they are. I know who Yankee Pong is. I know who all of them are. They tried to do something with our nation, and I forget what's her name. Kiki, her smart ass she turned around and cut the meeting short. I said, hold on, did we agree to this? We are now. I said, well, guess what? I'll tell you what. Our nation's going to have a meeting, and we're going to make a decision where we want to do anything with you. L.A. Lewis, stay away from him. That guy's trouble.
Okay, he's the only one telling people here, so I just took advantage of
I
it.
understand that. Now you know better. Get away from him. Get away, stay away. He can't do nothing for y'all.
Because I actually work with the youth here in Trenchtown. I actually
Yes.
have over 70 youth that I work with. I have a registered foundation here, you know, registered with the government of Jamaica since 2015. And we have been able to get funding from US-based organization, 501c, you know,
Yeah,
to
that puts
help
the
them.
501c3 puts you underneath the IRS. That makes you chattel property. That contradicts Matthew chapter 5, verse 33, because it says you cannot serve two masters. So a 501c3 makes you an employee of the Internal Revenue Service, and they work for the International Monetary Fund.
Right.
See, they don't tell people about that. The IRS code says all you need is at least 3 people to have a church. It's right there in the code. But they tell the priests when they go to seminary school, go to the IRS, go get a 501c3. That makes you chattel property of the IRS. Just thought you want to know that.
Right. But would I be able to get funding? Because, you know, I work with the children here, and then I try to teach them about Marcus Garvey and about our culture and stuff like that. So would I be able to get funding? Because it's the Jamaican government has never even helped us, not even give us books or computers or
And they're
anything.
not going to. When are you going to
I
see
know.
that the Jamaican government are overseers?
I
It's the
know.
same in the Caribbean. It's the same in Trinidad. It's the same in St. Lucia. It's the same in Antigua. This is the point I brought up on the meeting with Rattigan, that I asked the working group of experts for people of African descent at the United Nations about 3 years ago, how many of them are attorneys? And she admitted, and I said, well, don't you think that's a conflict of interest? That's not the type of question I could have asked, but I know she's going to lie and say no. So I'm going to say, so don't you see that as a conflict of interest? Because your first obligation is to the bar, which is domestic, and then you're talking about advocating for people of African descent. How is that going to work when there's going to be a clear conflict of pushing international law? Because that's congressional record page A3220. The U.S. Congress is not bound by the Constitution. Most Americans don't even know that. Most U.S. citizens, they have no clue. They must promote human rights in the 5 fields of endeavor, which are economic, social, cultural, civil, and political. So the Black people, whether it's the U.S., whether it's Jamaica, the Caribbean, they are not entitled to human rights. And this is what was in an input that I sent to the UN that the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has published, and it's been up there for years. Black is a legal term having no standing at law, dead in the eyes of the law, considered dead, has no rights, and is not entitled to international protections. How you are able to change that is by claiming white and claiming your indigenous heritage. Nobody else out there is talking about that except myself and At-sik-hata Nation. Because what it does is it creates an economic effect. When they released the picture of Cheddar Man from the United Kingdom, showing this is what the original Britain looked like. Let me pull it up so you can see that, so you have it in your mind. This is Cheddar Man. This is the picture of the first, what they call the first Britain. And I'm clicking this one here because that will bring you to the artist. This guy here, he's the artist that put the picture together. That they reconstructed the bones. So this is what he put together. Okay, here we go. And so the issue is, okay, so the guy, the the recreation on the left is Cheddar Man. The guy on the right is the actual artist. So now why did he make him pale? Because that means he knows that on the left here, this is what the original Briton looked like. Dark skin, not so much, but dark curly hair. This is not curly enough. And blue eyes. This is what the original name, but the original, what they call Great Britain looked like. So that means Charles, the Windsor family, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, so-called royalty of Europe, they're not the original people. They don't look like this. That means they're not pure. That means they're not original. Therefore, they're not royal. That knocks everything out. So any type of compensation and restitution, not reparations, but any type of compensation and restitution has to be based on you claiming your indigenous heritage. And that's why that old goat on Rattigan was complaining about why are you going back in history? Because if I go to a museum, I can see the Nubians, I can see the ancient Assyrians, I could see the ancient Babylonians, I could see, and all of them were niggers. So that means the original people on the planet are dark-skinned. However, if you use a corporate description of Black or African American, they don't have to give you nothing. That's the trick right there. You're dead in the eyes of the law. It's your table, you're a bookshelf, you're a chair, you're a lawn in some. You see where I'm saying, where the position you get put into? And so this is what we're talking about. So those pre-existing contracts have to be revealed to you, because yeah, you might be getting funds in one capacity, but all you're doing is exchanging one plantation for another plantation. And then they're going to say, we don't want you teaching this, we don't want you teaching that. I saw a video on Facebook where a Black guy in Atlanta said, they asked this preacher, how did you get this money for this church? Oh, we went to the bank. We went to the bank. They couldn't give. He said, no, there's a special bank for churches. And he said, when you go there, they'll give you the money. They said, but you got to teach what we want you to teach. And that means you got to teach that Jesus is pale. And he said, well, we're not going to do that. They said, when you ain't getting the money.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw
All
that.
right. So we're here. So knowing that and seeing that video, TD Jakes, Eddie Long, they're all bought and paid for. They are overseers. They are not in one capacity. Yes, the children can get knowledge, but in another capacity, it will be limited. It will be restricted. They'll say, you ain't going to this level. You're not going to talk about UCC. You're not going to talk about Uniform Commercial Code. You're not going to talk about stocks, bonds. You're not going to talk about keeping 10%. You're not going to talk about networking. They don't want that. That's how you keep the slaves and keep them under control. And say, here what? We'll put these Black people, make them the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who's going digital, and they're moving from paper to digital. And I've told Black business people, stop calling yourself Black, and if you're going to go on the blockchain, you better change your race and ethnicity, because they're already talking about bringing out that central bank digital currency where it is programmable. They'll be using facial recognition technology. Hold on, how much money this nigger got? Oh shit, that's too much. Oh no, we need to take some of that. Here what? We're going to give you an allowance. We'll allow you to spend no more than $1,000 electronically a day.
It's already happening. Like every week, somebody comes out and says money is disappearing out of their accounts, like their regular paper accounts now with the bank, like NCB, National Commercial Bank. People complain all the time that the money just, and you can't withdraw your own money. There's a limit, but somehow 5 million Jamaican dollars can get transferred out of your account like one time. And the man says they told him they knew which bank it went to in Jamaica, another bank, but they still couldn't get it back for him.
So this is a bad state of affairs, and you know why they can do that? Because the people
Because you're Black.
because they're black. The Jamaicans are black. They're not saying they're Jamaicans. They're not saying they're Maroons. They're not saying they're Carib or Arawak. They're calling themselves Jamaicans. And because they're saying they're Jamaicans and they're black, that's it. There's a difference between an X and a J. There is no J in Hebrew. So Yeshua, cool. Jesus, no. Creation. Or Isa is the correct Saint Isa, which is in Jerusalem. Or if you go to Tibet, they have roles of a prophet, of a Hebrew prophet by the name of Isa that came and did miracles. Or you talk about Buddha, because the Jesus that people are talking about today, he was teaching Buddhism. That's where people got lost. He wasn't teaching Christianity, he was teaching Buddhism. So back to the point, though, of the money, they can do that. Black people are not entitled to human rights, protections under international law, none of that. That's why he asked me, you didn't hear this, but Mr. Rattigan had asked me, is slavery still in existence? And I said, do you want me to tell you the truth? And he said, yes. I said, yes. Now, he's supposed to say, how is that? And I would have said here, because he's in Florida, which means he's contracted as a U.S. citizen, even if he's from Jamaica. I said, listen, the Social Security card, on the back of the Social Security card, it says that this card, the card itself, let me just get a card here. I got all these cards here. The card on the back of the Social Security card, that's what they used to get work. It says on the back, this card is property of Social Security, and you have to return it to us if we ask for it back. It says that on the back. So that means the name on the front belongs to who?
The government who issues it, the person who issues it. Yeah.
The government who issues it. So you're right the first time. So then that means the person holding it is holding a contract they are allowed to use.
To use it, right.
But they belong, that name, and the person says, they say, is this your name? Yeah, that's my name. Boom. Now they've translated down to an object and now become property of the US government. So that becomes chattel, movable and immovable property. They can now do what they want with them. However, now, since the United States is dissolved and it's now underneath the United Kingdom, now all of that is under the crown, which equals the Rothschilds. So all the U.S. citizens, if they haven't got issued no statements, haven't done an SF-181, haven't come on my webinar to do it properly, they belong to the Rothschilds. And they're holding the contract of evidence that they belong to the Rothschilds. So that's what's going on. If he would have asked me, I would have gave him the answer. He knows this because he's an attorney. So now he had to just say that, yeah, Black people still, they're not out of bondage. And now the International Decade for People of African Descent will be over in December 31st of this Gregorian calendar. Come January 1st, 2025, that's it. Black people, free reign. They're going to be right back. They would have thought they were on a plantation. So what has to happen is the acceptance of what your actual family lineage is and how you connect that and do commerce knowing that. Yankee Pong is not showing that. They don't know how to do that. He was calling me king. They were already having me to be king of the Yankee Pong. Ask him. Ask L.A. Lewis. Do you know King Shaabu? And watch all the blood, everything, watch his face get ghost. They know who I am. They know what I've accomplished. Not qualified. They're not going to do anything. It's piecemeal stuff. So I'm just letting you know. So I can help you to get out of that because I had a member. She's in our nation now, and she's in Ghana. So she's coming back to take care of some business before she goes back to Ghana again. And she almost got tied up in that. And I showed her how to get out of that. So I don't think Ya's on. Is she? No, Ya's probably not on. But I'll show you how to take care of that. Things have to be done differently.
I am definitely wanting to change my status properly. So I did it here, but I do understand because I see inconsistencies with his system, but I didn't have anything else,
Now you
available.
do.
So I will follow through with you. So when are your seminars? Like you have a set date?
On Mondays. So I do it every Monday with the exception of the 8th, because 8th is the solar
Solar
eclipse. So
eclipse?
we're going to be doing some magic on that day.
Okay, so the 16th, so the 15th, okay.
No, well, we're going to, this is today's what? The 20,
Monday,
this is the
Monday
30th.
the 8th is the
So
eclipse. So the
April
other
1st.
Monday, yeah, the
April
other
1st.
Monday
This
would be
first we'll have it,
right,
and then
right,
and then we won't have one again until the 15th.
right.
So send me, you have my email. Unless Sa's gonna send you the information, it's a requisite video first. And
And I was not vaccinated or tested. I stay away from all of that.
great, that's fabulous news. Let's see here. I'm just trying to track. Okay, I gotta go on my other browser. Okay. I'm gonna forward that email that you sent me to At-sik-hata. So it's already okay. Yeah, I'll send it to At-sik-hata Sa, and if you could forward her, please, the video requisite, so she can do the video because we're screening everybody, and this way, let's see, forward. Okay, there we go, forward. So this way, we'll make sure that you're not magnetized. And then once because no one's talking about that. They're not talking about the body area network that governments are starting to use, where they're going to send sensors, biosensors into the body and monitor your body. No one's talking about that. And as it
Yeah, because
affects.
Chief, that was the reason why I really signed up with him because when the lockdown started in 2020, he was the only one. Almost every day he went on Facebook and said, "Do not take it, do not take it." And I really thanked him because he always was telling people that, and they shadow banned him, and you could see that they were trying to prevent his information from going out, and they even like demonstrated on the streets here and that kind of thing. So I thought he was
Yes.
genuinely, trying to help
That
people.
part, yes. That part, yes. But you got to get white because it's like a slave revolting against a slave master. You don't have the right to do that. They're going to beat the person back into submission. So why put yourself into that position? Get white. Once you get white, you have standing because now you can mess with them when they want to try to, if they try to put you back, now you get to expose the fraud that them and the black politicians in the Caribbean are guilty of participating in. Because the fact, how could they be going to Cambridge or go learning law and not know that black is considered outside the body politic? It's considered dead in the eyes of the law. How can they not know that?
Chief.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the attorneys on the radio, like the talk show hosts, they
Yes.
are attorneys and they were encouraging the people to go and take it. And I'm like,
Yes.
wow. And they
That's
should
probably
know.
why
Yeah.
Mr. Rattigan had a meltdown because he was probably telling people to do that. And now, when I brought up COVID and I brought up Center for Disease Control changing the definition, he knew because they get privy to stuff they don't tell the public. So they'll say, yeah, you tell them that and we'll pay you money for telling people to
Yeah.
take the jab.
Everybody.
Go ahead.
I just wanted Sister Clarion to confirm that she got the prerequisite video instructions email, please.
Oh, in my email, I'll check it. Yes, ma'am. Saw our sets.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No
All
worries.
right, Tawahat. Azub Fuk Dada Daddy Lucky Man took. Tawahat. Yay. Azub. All right. So that's it. So you got that. The video shouldn't take you more than 30 seconds. Make sure you get a magnet, either a rare earth magnet or a neodymium. And you'll have somebody record because you'll take your phone and you're going to scan your shoulder, both shoulders. Just keep it one spot. Don't move it around. And then turn the video camera on. This way I can see whether there's a product code or UPR or UPC code comes up on your phone. And with the light bulb, make sure you turn to the camera so I could see the light bulb is touching your shoulder. See that?
Okay, I have to put a light bulb on my shoulder.
Yep. To make sure you're not magnetized, make sure it doesn't go on, because in the vaccine, it's what's called luciferase, and that can be seen under an ultraviolet light.
Right. So the light bulb, it's just, I just go and buy a light bulb. It doesn't
Yep,
have to-
and any light bulb, no coil light bulb, just I don't care if it's LED light bulb, but just a regular light bulb or LED, and then turn to the camera so I could see that it's on your shoulder like that.
Okay, okay, and I don't have to do the magnet, only the light bulb?
No, you got to do all three. You got to do the magnet, the light bulb, and the video camera. Oh yes, because people who took the jab, they were able to stick pot spoons, metal pot spoons, and forks and knives on their face after taking the jab.
Yeah, I saw those videos.
There you go. So you know. All right. So this was great talking to you. That was wonderful. So I look forward. It shouldn't take you but 30 seconds. So when you're done, email it to me. I'll tell you, yeah, it's good. And then you put it up on your YouTube channel. And then we'll see you on Monday.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that. So I'll try to be on the meeting for the 15th.
No problem. Whatever is convenient for you. And we do it from 9 Eastern, 9 o'clock East, or pardon me, 7 o'clock Eastern on Mondays.
Okay, so you're 1 hour ahead of me. Yeah.
I thought in Jamaica's 2 hours now.
Well, no, 7 o'clock Eastern should be 6 o'clock here.
Where are you? Aren't you in Jamaica?
Kingston, yeah.
Okay, so right now it's 5:25 our time. What time is it there now?
It's 6:25.
Okay,
here.
so you're only an hour. All right, no problem. Great. So an hour ahead of us. Fabulous.